All right, let's start off with tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your name? Who are you?
My name is Brunetta Hill-Corley, and I am the daughter of Johnny and Mary Hill. My father has preceded me in death 6 years ago, and I'm educated. I have 3 degrees. I graduated from Spelman College in 1980. In 1982, I graduated from Roosevelt University.
Where did you get your major in college?
Major in college was in psychology pre-law. I got my first master's in public administration from Roosevelt in Chicago, Illinois. And then I'll say maybe 25 years later, my Uncle Pete used to always tell me that I'd be going back to school. And I would say, no, I'm not. But the times have changed. And I went back to school 25 years later. And I received my master's in educational leadership.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family's history and when you first got involved with your parents' businesses?
My parents have been in businesses for over 30 years.
It's been longer than that, hasn't it?
It's I'd say maybe
30 years is just
35.
the course of my life. They've been in business since you was a kid.
I guess you could say, yeah. So maybe I say 40 plus.
I would say more like 60.
Okay, 60. We'll say 60. At the age of 12, I began handling all the finances for my parents' businesses.
Like what duties did that entail?
That duties entail keeping the records, keeping the daily sales, revenue, losses, banking, writing checks, paying the bills, accounts payable.
So who trained you in those sorts of skills?
I would say that as when I graduated from high school, I started work at the age of 16, and over the summer we had summer jobs. And I worked at the Metropolitan Sanitary District, and my jobs always entailed some form of accounting efforts.
Now, wait a minute. You said you started keeping the books for your parents when you were 12.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, who taught you how to keep the books for their businesses at such a young age?
I would say that it was just trial and error.
Okay.
Trial and error.
So why did your parents trust you out of your older brother and your younger sister?
I think they felt that I had a tighter head, better focus.
You were more willing to help out.
I was more willing to help and assist them in their endeavors as they invested in, family businesses.
I remember you were also telling me, I remember there was stories you telling me about how when you were younger, you'd always hand your father the tools, or you'd help him in the yard when they were at their different properties.
Yeah, growing up, when my mother decided to go to work after all of us were in school, it took two incomes to maintain a household. So we would go with my dad because he worked at the steel mill at night, and during the day we maintained properties that my father and my uncle owned. So we would be with him during the day. So I guess you say I learned from those skills. My father was a person that was a jack of all trades. He didn't master anything. He did it all, and he did it well. So I guess you could say I learned from him.
Okay, what did you do as far as a professional career prior to getting involved with this venture here at Skyway Bowl?
Prior to my professional career and getting involved here at Skyway Bowl, like I said before, when I went back for my 3rd degree, I lost my job at a Fortune 500 company known as IBM. I worked there for 19 years. And I had to go back after I left and took the buyout packet. I had to have a job. My son was graduating from high school. And so I went back and I started all over again. I went into the educational field, and that's where I obtained my master's. So I worked in the educational field for about 7 years. And then after that, I embarked into a political career that went south. In April of 2009, I was the chief of staff in the village of Sauk Village for all but of a year and a half. Went through a lot of turmoil there.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there, and why did your short-lived career go south so quickly?
I think the short-lived career went south because the mayor at the time, he didn't have no backbone, and then maybe me too. Maybe I should have taken a little bit lighter steps in how I proceeded and did business there. But at the time, I had to make sure that I protected myself, because individuals that I dealt with politically, they sure didn't have my back. And I found out that in the 11th hour. By that time, it was too late for me to back out. So I just trudged forward, and did the best that I could do. My father was an icon in politics in the city of Chicago. So, you know, I got in, I did my best, and
you tried to do the right thing, everyone else was trying to do wrong, and it caught up with you too soon.
It caught up with me sooner than later, because I wasn't going to jail for nobody. I was for doing right by the community and the residents that lived there. It was all about right. And sometimes being right is not the venture in politics. So so that led me here in April of 2009, and it was an emotional state for me at that time, because my mom was getting ready to have a triple bypass at the age of 79, and it was a feeling from God that said, you have no more worries. This is where you're going to be. And no one it's difficult for me to explain that to some people, but it was like I saw that light that went off, and God said, this is where you're going to be for the rest of the outcome.
So Skyway Bowl it's a bowling alley, correct?
Skyway Bowl is a bowling alley, and it's been around since the 50s. And I would say that since the 50s, and my parents bought it in 2009. I hadn't been here to Skyway Bowl since the 70s, because I bowled here in high school. I was on the high school bowling team.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about how your parents got into the bowling business?
My parents, like I said, they have had many ventures, and
why don't you start from the beginning? Tell us about their first venture and how they got started off as entrepreneurs at a young adult age.
At a young adult age, I would say my parents were probably could have been in their 40s or 50s. My father, we started out with a laundromat on 67th and Langley. My parents owned that whole corner. That corner consisted of a laundromat, a cleaners, and a food and liquor store, packaged goods store. And it was a legacy that my father began to set for his family. He felt that one day, with the times that we're existing in now, hard times was coming back. It was like a revelation. And what he wanted to leave in his eternal life to his family was something that we would have a backbone, something we could fall back on. In cases, just example, like when I left IBM, where was I going to go? What was I going to do? So them investing in being entrepreneurs and family businesses was my fallback. I made my stump out there in the city on the ground, but so them having these businesses was something that I could fall back on. My father always told us he didn't want his children to have to beg nobody for a job, so he made a financial or an investment in these businesses, so they would help take care of the family. In addition to that, my mother was a bowler also. You have to understand too that in that question that you asked, my father never threw a bowling ball in his life. The fact is that he was a businessman. So he bought and invested in the bowling alleys because of his wife, my mom.
Right. So he basically bought bowling alley because your mother, she loved to bowl, and he bought a bowling alley because he thought that's something she would like, basically.
Correct.
Okay,
so that was something she enjoyed. She enjoyed bowling.
So how long have the Hills been in the bowling business?
I would say we've been in the bowling business since 2000s, maybe late 1990s.
Okay, that makes about right. That makes about right, because I think that around that time was around around the 2000s, if I remember correctly. Okay. So can you tell us about your first bowling alley, Halsted Bowl, and how you guys ran that, how you purchased that, and how you eventually came and moved on over to the bigger facility, Skyway Bowl?
Well, like I said, Halsted Bowl was their first venture. It was an 18-lane facility. And one thing I can say about my parents is they knew how to groom and grow a business. They were the type of people that they were too nice. They gave more of themselves than what the business needed. But in doing that helped create, my parents had a reputation that people, if you mentioned Johnny Hill, Mary Hill, or the Hills family, they said that's the place you want to go, because they knew how to treat people. and they kept a clean business.
They treated their customers like family.
Like family, right? We were
if the community needs something, they could rely on Mary and Johnny Hill, basically.
Exactly. Okay, so if my father, those were things that he liked to do. He loved to do for people, and his employees, they were just like a son or a daughter to them. And if people got in a tight, they knew that they could go to Mr. and Mrs. Hill, as they were called, and they would assist them in getting out of that tight.
Tight situation.
Yeah. So as we grew Halsted Bowl, it got to the point where we just the walls were kind of busting, and we needed to expand our venture or our investment. And that's why we decided to buy Skyway Bowl. At the time, Skyway Bowl was being seeked out by some developers, and the bowlers came to my father, and they're like, "Mr. Hill, we just that's all we have. We need we need you to really go over and talk to Mr. Jacoby Dickens, who was the president CEO of Seaway National Bank, and see what you can work out with him, because we need you to buy that facility." So
now the former owner, Jacoby Dickinson, he was African American as well, correct?
Yes, he was a African American as well. And as one of the things that I do want to mention here is owning bowling alleys in a sport that's pretty dominant by Caucasians. My dad and my mom were the first black
and only
Americans and only individuals that owned bowling alleys in the country.
That's USBC certified.
That's USBC certified. And people have to understand that statement, because people that own bowling alleys, you have to be in the proprietorship to be an official center. And because there's certain rules and regulations that we abide by under the United States Bowling Congress. And if you wanted to find out a little bit more about that statement, check out the article in the Chicago Sun-Times called "Pioneering Chicago Bowling Alley Owner Johnny E. Hill." You will find everything about him and who he was in that obituary statement, an article that was written about my father when he passed in August of 2015.
So as you are carrying on the torch from your parents, what are some of the trials or difficulties you find being a female minority business owner?
I would say one of the first things that I had to learn even coming into the business is a lot of the customers or bowlers found it difficult to deal with me. And that was because I always was protective of my parents. But one thing I did learn from my dad is you have to learn to be humble. And I would say over the time that he's taught me all that he has taught me, I have learned to humble myself in this business, which makes it, the customer satisfaction is tripled when you have an owner or proprietor, as we are, as involved. We're hands-on business owners, because that was the type of business that my parents ran. And so that humbling has taken me a long way, and it has made the journey a lot more easier to manage. But being a minority and young at the age that I took over the business, I mean, you talk about somebody in there before the age of 60. I was early 50s. So I had to work through a lot of strain. You talk about jealousy. You talk about our own ethnic group of not wanting to help and work with each other. That's another wall that you have to climb. Going to the bank and the stability of the business. I run a lean, mean, effective operation when it comes to financing. So a lot of that I kind of piggyback off of my father's reputation that he left prior to his passing and going on to the heavenly gates.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the issues you faced in the business? You talked about, being a black business owner and your own ethnicity not wanting to pull together to help you out. It's almost as if they're working against you in a sense. Can you tell us a few of your experiences since you've taken over here about some of the conflicts you've had here at Skyway Bowl with some of the other bowlers who happen to also be black as well?
Some of the conflicts would steer with the fact that people want to come into your house. This is what we call bowling facilities. It's my house. And I'm not the one that kind of taunts that I'm a business owner. People want to do what they want to do in your place. When you work and spend your hard-earned money and invest in your place, you can't come in here doing what you want to do. And people find it hard to understand that. What you may do at home, you can't do here. You know, we run a clean facility, and some people don't like that. So you can't come here and put your feet up in our chairs, rear back in our chairs, treat it like a rocking chair that's not a rocking chair, and just basically tear down the facility when my parents have worked hard and they spent their personal dollar here. I take that to heart, and I didn't take that very easily. I would just basically lash out at people. It was an anger. So I had to find a way to say, you know, tone it down and say, no, this is not what we do here. And, you know, over time, the customers began to appreciate that. I mean, there were a lot of more bowlers and customers that were in my corner than I thought, because people would come up to me and say, Brunetta, it's okay. Just back up a minute. And as they would say, back up and smell the coffee, see the light. As my father would always say, the trees can be taller, but you gotta be able to look above those trees. So it's your tone. You gotta just be able to back up and just kind of consume. So over time, shorter than later, that's where that humbleness came in. And so it was just learning how to operate in the absence of my dad. And it was hard. It was hard in the beginning, but at the same token, I was with my dad every day. So I learned, got to know the landscape of your business. And it gets to the point where you tell people, listen, it ain't always about the money, because all money ain't good money. And I believe in running a safe, fun, family business. It's got to be safe for everybody, not just for me. Everybody that walks into this facility.
Speaking of the type of clean environment you like to maintain here at Skyway Bowl, can you tell us a little bit about some of the other rules that you have for the patrons when they visit the facility?
So some of those rules entail hoodies, sagging pants. You are what your appearance is when you step into a facility. Wearing a hoodie creates sneakiness, or like you're up to something. So those are rules and regulations that we require in our facility, and it keeps us safe. And most of my customers, they love it. You don't wear hoodies in here. You don't wear sagging pants. If you have a hat on your head, you take your hat off. We have a roof. So you got to present yourself. So if you present yourself right, then that's less trouble. We also stagger our hours. We don't stay here all night. And since COVID has come around, we really don't stay here all night. So we make sure that our hours are conducive to our seniors and our customers, so that we can get in and get out. And that's cleaning up the tables, clean up behind yourself. We don't allow you to bring in outside food because we have an eatery, a restaurant within the facility. We do have a liquor license, and there's certain behaviors and procedures that go along with holding that license. It's a pride to have that license. It ain't easy to get, but it's easy to lose. So we have to make sure our customers understand. It's helping them understand what goes on behind holding a license and the rules and the procedures that you must adapt while being in business. It's not about getting ready. It's what you call getting ready to be ready. And that's what we practice here in the facility.
Earlier, you spoke about the legacy that your family has in the community. Can you tell us what you have done to sort of uphold that legacy? Do you guys maintain an active presence in the community? And if so, what are some of the ventures you do in the community to help the surrounding community?
One of the things that I have started here since my parents have bought this, invested in this facility, that we've always done in the community is we do an annual toy drive where we collect toys for our needy families. We've supported some of the schools, Chicago Public Schools, where we've donated those toys to. I remember one year we donated toys to the Pilsen neighborhood. This past year we just donated toys to the village of Polson. The Diet School was one of them. And Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we donated toys there. So every year we have had a toy drive since 2009. A couple of years, we had a back to school drive where we provided cloth backpacks filled with school supplies for our community members in the neighboring schools in the area. We've also done some Thanksgiving
Food
food
drives.
baskets, food drives. We partner with it's a new community group called the New Generations. This year we had several events where we did COVID shots, we did turkey baskets, and just school supplies that we provided to the bowlers and the community members. So these are things we get out and we become active. We are part of the 10th Ward, where our alderwoman, Susan Galadowski, I work a lot with her office in putting together some of these events for the community. So we're very community driven.
Speaking of COVID shots, I see that you have a tent set up in the parking lot. Is that like a drive-through COVID?
Yes, that is one of my vendors questioned me about setting up a tent in the parking lot. It's going to be a drive-through COVID testing site. The weather has been kind of cold for the past week, so it's kind of breaking now. So hopefully that site, this drive-through, will open up over the next week or so.
Oh,
yeah, that would help a lot of the
in time
community
for the spring,
in
basically.
time for the spring with COVID taking all these variances and different avenues of affecting the community.
What are your future plans for the business? Like, where do you go now? What do you want to do now with the business?
What I want to do now with the business, since COVID has hit, we've lost quite a bit of revenue. I'd say quite a bit. So right now we're in the rebuilding stage, and the state has provided several grants and certain business finances that local businesses or small businesses can take advantage of, because at the end of the day, when you look at the financial structure of our country, it's built on the small businesses, and that's what we are. And in order for us to stay afloat, since COVID has taken over, it has slashed 50% or more a loss of revenue in the business. So one of my goals is my facility needs an extreme overhaul. And what I mean by overhaul, update. So if I am successful in receiving some of those fundings, I plan to update the facility to bring it into more of a technology 21st century environment. And I'm looking for that. In doing that, I know that and being the only facility in the southeast side of the city of Chicago, I know that people would come. I mean, they're coming now, but I know even more, it'll be more of an attraction. So I want the facility to be more of an up to date. When you talk about 21st century, not where you can, just have a better enjoyment out of it. I want to rebuild it. So I think that by doing that and being able to hopefully take advantage of some of the grants, I have a grant writer that's working on those programs for me, and once those are awarded, I think the sky is the limit for Skyway Bowl.
Okay. I noticed today when I walked in, you guys were having some sort of tournament, or the high schools are practicing for an upcoming tournament. Can you tell us a little bit about what that tournament is, and what that means to be able to host that, as the only USBC certified Black-owned bowling alley in the country?
It's a pride to host those tournaments. We are also known, Skyway Bowl is known as the Chicago Public Schools CPS hub for the high schools bowling program. The bowling program consists of thousands, millions of dollars of scholarships for students. So today they were practicing for the regional state tournament that will be held here on Saturday, January 15th, 2022. This will not be my first rodeo at doing this, because we've done this for the past 7 years. But there's several schools across the city of Chicago that come in and compete in this tournament on Saturday. And we have students and schools from all ethnicities that come into the facility. And it's a pride and joy, because those ethnicities, they really appreciate this facility. We call it more of an old school happy day facility. And they enjoy coming here because of the service and the warmthness and the family environment that we offer to them when they come. So yeah, I look forward to doing that every year. It's very, because when they mention that they're coming to Skyway Bowl, everybody wants to come here, and I'm happy to see them come. So today they were practicing all week. The high schools from all over the city have been coming in practicing for Saturday, and may the best school win.
Okay, it seems like there was some interesting news going on over the past couple of days in the bowling world. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened recently at Burr Oaks? And do you think that maybe that incident might, allow for you to gain some traction from their bowling from their league population over into your bowling facility?
Well, I'm gonna say yes and no to that, and it's unfortunate that incident took place. I understand that there was a shooting at the facility, and the shooter was an off-duty police officer.
Was he a probation officer or something like that?
Officer. He was overserved.
In the capacity of alcohol. He served too much alcohol, right?
Alcohol. And I guess he got in some type of squabble or dispute with a couple of the open bowlers in the facility. And there were shots fired. 3 victims got shot. They were not life-threatening injuries, but the fact remains is this. When you are managing not just a bowling facility, but any business as a proprietor, you need to know your center. You need to know your employees. You need to know your customers. And without having those particular protocols in place, that's why we have what we have.
Because you open yourself up to instances such as that.
Correct.
And that's why you guys are very intolerant of a lot of the bad behavior, because you're trying to protect yourself.
Correct. So when you allow certain behaviors in your facility, then this is the outcome or the result of those behaviors. Now, yeah, we need people to come bowl here. Don't get me wrong. But there's some behaviors I don't want here. And then now it's to the point where in some facilities, not only just what happened at Burr Oak, but other facilities in the south suburbs, where they have just been taken over by the negativity of the behaviors of the community residents, And that, without that being said, a lot of those behaviors, the proprietors put that on their employees to handle. And we don't do that here at Skyway Bowl. We're here. We know our business. We know our customers. And when there are behaviors that take place like that, we have a relationship that we've built with our 4th District Chicago Police District. So when we call, they come. And that's why I said, if you have the no hoodie rule, the no sagging pants, so people know when they come in the door that they can't come in here like that. We ask them to remove it. If you can't remove it, then we politely ask them to leave. So it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do in order to maintain the safety of your facility and the people in it. Yes, I don't go around trying to steal business from any other proprietor within the bowling facility, because people gonna go where they want to go. But at the end of the day, some of those behaviors that they may tolerate at those other facilities, Skyway Bowl does not, will not tolerate. So they know not to come here with that. And that's how we keep a safe, family-oriented facility.
Okay.
And some of those facilities, let me just kind of hit on this. When you talk about security and armed guards and police officers standing out in front of your door like they have at the schools, I feel, this is my opinion on that. If I need to go to a facility where I come in, I got to be greeted by a security guard, armed guards, police officers, then me, myself, I don't need to be there. So I thank God. I think because of the effectiveness and the efficiency of how we run the procedures and processes and our hands-on involvement in the business, that's why we stay safe. We stay safe.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the business side of league bowling and how league bowling works, how people join leagues, and just kind of how that runs in the house? You got the pop bowlers, and you got just give us a little bit of explanation about bowling in general.
Well, bowling is
the economic side of it, the business side.
The bowling it's a great sport, okay? And competitive league bowling is one of the main sources of revenue in being in this type of business. Without that,
can you explain to the viewers like exactly what is a bowling league?
A bowling league is a sport whereby someone or league comes together, puts a group together. It can be police officers, it can be teachers. We have a lot of teachers. It could be seniors.
Just be a random group of people.
Just be a random group of people. And basically, what bowling leagues do, depending on the number of weeks that they bowl, most leagues run 35, 32 weeks. A real bowling league does not exist under 35 weeks. It can exist, but if you want to call a real bowling league, it's 35 weeks. So with that league, it can be just a random group of people. It creates a social communication network amongst people, when it can come from workers, seniors.
Where people come on a day during the week for 35 weeks and they bowl a series of games.
Correct. They bowl a series of games. There's placements. There's payouts. There's a little fun and some gambling that goes on. And that's because people are competing against one another. So it's a social activity and camaraderie. And they see each other that same day, that one day during the week, same time for 35 weeks. And people become connected. You may meet your future wife. In the past, people have met their future wife or husbands in the bowling alley. That's just was the nature of that beast. So it was, and over time, you, even if you're not related, you become family within the facility and the people that you bowl with. It's a great outing for our veterans, our seniors, gives them something to do. So that's how the bowling leagues have come about. They can stem from different, what am I trying to say? Employment, trades. Because you could have,
different employment
fields.
Police officers may have a league. The firefighters may have a league.
The firefighters have a league. You have the beauticians may have a league. So it creates all forms of networking and challenges and camaraderie amongst the community and the people that join those leagues.
Okay, well, Ms. Hill-Corley, is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience before we sign off?
I would like to say thank you for viewing this podcast or series here. I hope that you learned something from it. And at the end of the day, just be thankful, be prayerful, and be focused. Find out what's going to make you make it through this life. And be steadfast at it. Be stern. Be prepared. And as they say, don't get ready. Be ready. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Brunetta Hill-Corley, one of the owner-operators of Skyway Bowl here on the South Side of Chicago. Be sure to stop by if you're ever in town. Signing off.